So I had this poll running on YouTube and you guys were divided. Guild Wars 3 is coming soon. And it might be coming sooner than you expect. I wanted to dissect the trailer with you guys right here, and I will be making a more in-depth video since not all information has been released yet. My name is Kyo and I'm a Guild Wars 1, 2 and soon to be Guild Wars 3 player since 2006, so let's dig into it. So I was with a mate at a party watching the Summerfest stream yesterday on our phones, and we immediately noticed a change in art style here. Although it's not final, it looks smoother, more polished and probably built in the latest Unreal Engine. And when we skip a little further, we see a creature with a human on top. The creature could be a Warclaw that we know from Guild Wars 2, but it looks completely different, even though its movements are close to it. At least that popped into our minds. Then we get a closer look at the human. It doesn't really tell you much, but the first thing that popped into my mind that the human looked a lot like Kos, a hero from Guild Wars Reforged, who also makes an appearance in Guild Wars 2 as well. His hairstyle, the armor colors, they must have drawn some inspiration from that. And then when we move a little further into the trailer, we see that this banner is being knitted. And I had to watch it a couple times, but I can't quite see if this wizard or mage is related to something in the Guild Wars universe just yet. We can also be certain that the city that is knitted, for lack of a better word, is the city of Or. We've seen this demolished city in Guild Wars 2, where it was overrun by undead, so if this city is still intact, that means that Guild Wars 3 will be a prequel to Guild Wars 2, or maybe even 100 years later, when the city is rebuilt and the undead were driven away. We had plenty of hints about that, and we'll dive deeper into that into my next video, so stay tuned for that. And then the human stops at the foot of the mountain and makes his way up the mountain as well. And looking at his feet and his hands, this must have been some kind of superpower that players will have in Guild Wars 3, meaning mountains that you normally could not cross in games like Guild Wars 2 and the original Guild Wars Reforged can be crossed with some kind of superpower in Guild Wars 3 or some kind of magic. Also, the art style really caught my eye here. It looks great, but it also reminded me of games like RuneScape Dragonwatch, for example. The movements of the human and the mount look more like the movements that you see in a AAA game than the movement that you usually see in MMOs. So it might be just a trailer, but it looks way more polished. It looks stronger, it looks smoother, it looks great. That's what I'm trying to say. And when the human reaches the top, the narration mentions the land of Or. So here you have it. That's Or that we're talking about. And then the knitting of the banner continues, and the narrator mentions the great spirits and what they are bound to. This is a whole other level because we haven't, at least to my knowledge, had any spirits that were significantly tied to humans or to the Guild Wars lore. Well, yeah, you had spirits, but these doesn't ring a bell to me just yet. Let me know in the comments if you have any idea, so I'm really happy to read about that. And then we have the gods. These have remained the same as in the Guild Wars lore. However, I see 6 gods. I see Dwayna, I see Grenth, I see Lissa, I see Balthazar, Melandru, and Abaddon. And Abaddon was replaced by Cormyr in the original Guild Wars. So it could even be that this is happening before the original Guild Wars. So it's a prequel to Guild Wars 1. This is all speculation, but it's strange that we see Abaddon here, since we made him basically inactive in Guild Wars Nightfall. And sorry for that spoiler here, but that game is more than 20 years old, so I'm really sorry. And then we see a magic user and a warrior fighting an Atin that we know from Guild Wars 1 and 2. I'm not quite sure if this bit is super important, but it's a nice bit of work. And this bit is important here, at least to me. We see that human on the mount, and we see a Kodan here. Kodan were usually white in Guild Wars, however, since Janther Wilds in Guild Wars 2, we've seen more brown-haired Kodan as well, meaning the Kodan could be a playable race, or at least we could see it as an ally. And next we see an Asura in front. I'm really happy to see that, because I think it's one of the coolest races to play. And next to that, we see another human, or possibly a Norn. From the trailer, we can't quite determine if she is bigger than the human on the mount, and since Norn are huge Nordic humans, basically, it's quite hard to determine. And next we see a glimpse of the spirit creature mentioned in the trailer. These play a big role for the characters in the trailer, just like the 6 gods. Moving on, here we see more humans riding a stag. This could be the spirit of the mountain that we know from Sunqua Peak, the fractal in Guild Wars 2, but that might be a bit far-fetched. That's just something that popped into my mind right away when I saw this. And next up we have the full picture of the knitting of the banner. We see the humans fighting the Aten, we see the city of Or and the wizard casting a spell. In Guild Wars 2 and the original Guild Wars we know that the wizard's tower is also a floating city run by Isgaren, and it's even an outpost in Guild Wars 2, so it could be some ancient magic that is being used to lift Or up in the sky, basically. I'm not sure. And then we see the gods right here, a sun and a moon. I'm not quite sure if that has a specific meaning. And we see the humans on stags and the spirits. In the top right there, I see that tree-like structure that we've seen before in the trailer, but I'm unsure what that is, so we might have to wait for that. And next up we have a new logo, and not to forget that it will be released on Steam and PlayStation 5, so there might be crossplay, at least that's very likely. That feels like it could be one of those games where you can play with other people on console while you're on PC, or even share progress between them. It will be quite handy when my girlfriend calls me downstairs, I shut off the PC and boot up the PS5. I don't think she would mind, right? And to top it off, the end of the trailer shows a little bit more of the artwork. Well, and this has been a compact trailer breakdown for you guys. Make sure to like and sub this video, because we will have another video up shortly talking about a new website, an interview and the concept art that we've seen. I am really excited. I'll see you there, and peace.